Good morning everyone, my name is Michelle, I hope you're doing well. Welcome to another video. It is Friday morning, the 28th of November, and only a handful of days now before Cold Case Christmas starts for the 4th year running. What's Cold Case Christmas, Michelle, I hear you say? Well, it's the series I run every single year over on my other channel, Michelle Walks. So go and subscribe over there if you're interested in cold cases. Between the 1st of December and the 24th of December, like opening an advent calendar, I will be covering a different cold case every single day. That can either be a missing persons case or an unsolved murder. But the cases I choose, and members of this channel have chosen a good proportion, at least half, of the cases that I'm covering this year. The cases that have gone cold, they maybe need more eyes on them, or there's something unusual about the case that has piqued my interest. And it's to raise awareness, it's to get the cases out there. So yeah, go and subscribe to Michelle Walks if you're interested in Cold Case Christmas. And here are the cold cases that I'm covering this year. But what are you doing in this video, Michelle, I hear you say? Well, for the last few days, we've been in northeast Tennessee in the case of missing then 5-year-old Summer Moon Utah Wells. We're staying in Tennessee today, but we're moving over to Middle Tennessee, a few miles north of Nashville, to the case of missing then 15-year-old Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers, who was reported missing on the morning of the 26th of February 2024. So Sebastian's been missing now for 19 months. And Sebastian, if he's still alive, will be almost 17. In just over a week, Sebastian will be 17 years old. But he was 15 when he was reported missing. He was last seen on the night of the 25th of February 2024 when he went to bed. He'd spent the day with his mother, Katie Proudfoot. They'd had some dinner the evening at the Texas Roadhouse in downtown Hendersonville. They went home. Sebastian went to bed around 9, around 10ish or thereabouts. Katie heard what she described as a thud in his room. She told him to go to sleep and, stop messing about. He said, yes, ma'am. That was it. That was all. Next morning at 6 a.m, Katie went into his room. It was a Monday morning to get him up for school. He wasn't there. She searched the house. She searched the yard. She searched the local neighbourhood. She rang her husband, Chris Proudfoot, Sebastian's stepdad, who was working 3.5 hours away in Memphis, Tennessee. He said, we need to call the cops. So he called the local sheriff's office. And within minutes, the first responders were on scene. About an hour later, around 7:40, 7:45, the first search dog got on scene. That was Max, a German Shepherd. He's a kind of a general police dog, but he has tracking training. He also does drug detection, but he wasn't scent specific. He's tracking any most recent human scent. Started off here at the construction site. You see him on surveillance video from one of the cameras here at the top of Kelling Lane. This is Sebastian's house here on Stafford Court. One of these cameras from the back overlooks the construction site. You see Max coming in, like they start here. He takes a run, he starts trotting, he gets a scent, he starts trotting, and then the dispatch audio then picks up the story because Max then dove right into this retention pond. The pond was drained, the pond was walked twice. So Sebastian's not in that pond. But then, around 8:30, the first scent-specific search dog got on scene. And it's that dog we're going to talk about today. I've got some more footage of that dog. Let's go. Before we get into the video, can I just ask, if you're not yet subscribed, please do so. I'm trying to get to 100,000 subscribers by the end of this year. With your help, I can do it. I think, maybe, just about. It'll be tight though. It's completely free at your end. All you have to do is click the subscribe button and you are done. If you are subscribed to the channel and you want to help me further, then leave a like on each video. Leave a comment. It shows the YouTube algorithm that you're engaging with my content. You could do that newfangled hype thing. Don't ask me what it is, but I know a lot of people are hyping my videos, so thank you so much for that. Again, that's an algorithm thing. It just helps push the channel out to more people. And also share my videos, and then more people will find out that this channel exists. Okay, without further ado. So, Vinnie Politan from Court TV covered this case on Politan Investigates. It was an interesting episode. It was the search for missing children, and they covered Melody Buzzard, little baby Emmanuel Haro, whose dad has now pled guilty to second-degree murder, but Emmanuel's body has not been found, Summer Wells, and then Sebastian Rogers. So it was an interesting episode. We've covered all 4 of those cases on this channel. Let's listen to what Vinnie has to say about Sebastian with the help of guest Steve Fisher, who is the private investigator, SF Investigates, who has been working on this case. We're going to concentrate on what Steve said here because it's specific to the search dogs. Chris McDonough was also on, but he doesn't know the case like Steve does. So we're going to concentrate on Steve's comments. Let's go.
Helping us with our investigation, former homicide detective Chris McDonough, host of the Interview Room with Chris McDonough, along with Steve Fisher, who has been the private investigator hired by Sebastian's mother and stepfather. All right, Steve, I'll begin with you. This is like Gone Without a Trace.
Yeah, it is. It's a really confusing case, but and it's just there's a lot of misinformation out there. I'll tell you that. At the beginning of the year, we released where we found surveillance from a house 1 street over at 12:17 a.m. on the 26th, which would have been, an hour and a half, 2 hours after, he was heard in the bedroom.
So that's this footage, 12:17 a.m., a shadowy figure at the top of Kelling Lane around this area. So it's one of these cameras that picks it up. It's in this area, top of Kelling. We'll go down to street level. And I believe that he's walking kind of here. And you've got this house in the background. It becomes clearer the next morning when a dog tracks in exactly the same spot. But we'll get there. So 12:17 a.m., shadowy figure.
That person, as far as we know, is not accounted for. That is right along where the construction area is. And we think that there's a chance that was him. And then going into the construction area, I will tell you that at 8:30 a.m. the next morning, when the canines got on scene, a tracking canine came through another backyard and literally started running, and the handlers started jogging and went right to the exact spot where that surveillance image was taken.
And it gives us just a little more information about that. What does the surveillance image show, and what story does it tell you?
So it's very hard to see. You have to enhance it, but it's a shadowy figure on Kelling Lane, which is 1 street over, which is where it's believed that he went in. And
not this. That's very misleading of Court TV to put that up at this precise moment. They need the footage from Steve. This is very misleading.
The construction zone. This is not that. This is a different one that FBI has come out and said that is not of any relevance. You know, it's one thing I also want to say is there's been very little news. Obviously, law enforcement is not talking about this case, and that has a lot to do with because this fake intelligence agency has come in and it kind of stirred things up. But
he's talking about you at night. Creative lack of intelligence. He's talking about you guys. Oh dear.
There is, I can promise you, there is still real efforts going on. Not long ago, we held a very precise, targeted search with forensic professionals, along with federal authorities alongside of them, and they were with us, and some of this was on federal property. So there are things going on. We're just not talking about it regularly just because of how polarized the whole thing has become.
Well, it absolutely has.
Absolutely has. Yeah, it's complete BS. There's stuff going on behind the scenes that us, the general public, knows nothing about. Why? Because certain people and certain organisations have spoiled it for all of us. We can't have nice things here on the internet, can we? Because we ruin it. Yeah, well, this dog at 8:30 comes through this backyard, I believe. Comes through here in this direction. Picks up a scent. I believe this is Kellen. And this is, I believe, this house. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's in this vicinity, even if I've got the wrong backyard that it comes through from. But you can see the general shape of the house. Kinda. There's that window. You've got a tree. You've got these bushes there. But so they come through here, right? They're walking through the yards from the back of Stafford up to the front of Kellen. The dog stops, sniffs a minute, and then sets off at a trot in the exact location where 8 hours previous the shadowy figure was walking around, who has not yet been accounted for. I personally think that is a good chance it was Sebastian wandering around in the neighbourhood. What he was doing, who knows? The numerous search dogs that have been out there have not got a consistent track. Different dogs have picked up different tracks. I think because Sebastian was out there wandering around. So depending on where the dog starts, depending on the precise nature of the wind and where the scent has pooled and where that particular dog picks it up from, you've got different tracks. I think that's the explanation as to why these dogs were like all over the place. But this one dog, we can track this dog's progress in this footage that I've just received. So thank you to the person who has sent me this. It's the same dog because you can see the same two handlers, the one with the yellow coat on and the other one. And I believe they come out here. So across here, the dog sets off at a trot. I think they go around here into this backyard, these two backyards here. And I think they come around here. And then the dog gets called off. So why? I've no idea. I've no idea why they called this dog back. But the dog is still tracking, nose down, stops. Now, the point this dog stops, I don't know, you can't hear it on the camera, but is that the point where the dog gets called off? Like the handler tells the dog to stop and then calls the dog back? I don't know. Maybe it's because they don't have permission to go in these yards here, but it's tracking in these backyards. And where would it have gone? Where would it have gone? I would guess that dog, if it had been allowed to carry on its track, would have gone through these hedges and into the construction site. But we'll never know because the handlers called this dog off. I'm just showing you some still shots that I've taken just to show that this dog is in this area. So that, I believe, is that little, I don't know what that is, little house behind the house, I believe is that structure. So you can see the handler there, another handler, they've come round that area, and the dog is in this backyard, and it's at this point the dog stops. Is that because the dog has been told to stop and then brought back? But the dog stops, and then the handler calls it back. Now, maybe they restarted this dog. I hope they did. I'd have restarted the dog on Kellen, and if the dog then came this way again, I've kind of proof to the fact that this is the path the dog wants to take, then it's easier to ask to be forgiven after the fact, isn't it? Look, we don't know. We've never heard from these handlers as to why they call the dog back, whether it was a permission thing, whether it's because they believe the dog had lost the scent and wanted to restart the dog somewhere else. The reason why a dog would just stop mid-track is if the person that they're tracking double back on themselves. So if the dog stopped because the track just got lost, it means that the person has double back on themselves. That's what I would take from that. So if this was Sebastian that this dog is tracking, and this dog is scent specific, this dog is tracking Sebastian's scent. If Sebastian went into these backyards and then maybe thought, oh, maybe I shouldn't go this way, and double back on himself, so he'd be kind of in this area, and maybe he then went back, retraced his steps, and then went to the construction site. So that's my opinion based on the evidence that we can see. But I'd love to know where this dog was taken next. I would love to see where the other dogs tracked and get a full map of dog tracks. But yeah, very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. All evidence points to, and you can't ignore this, all evidence points to the fact Sebastian went to the construction site. Where he went from here, though, is the mystery. Did something accidental befall him on the construction site? Steve Fisher mentioned searching on federal property. Did he drown in the creek and somehow his body made its way south all the way down to Old Hickory Dam? We talked about that in a recent video. Right the ways down here in the Cumberland River. Look, it's an absolute mystery. Gone without a trace. But not quite. There were traces, but those traces stop at that construction site. That's where the search needs to pick up, in my opinion. Alright guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye guys.